Praise God. Spirit of the Lord is in this place. Thank you so much, sis. One of the reasons we do what we do, people need the Lord. Our speaker this morning is Elder Nelson Ernst from Central California. He risked his life in the air to come see us and to inspire us, to help us, to help people that need the Lord. He is the main founder, director of the Globe Track Ministry. These are what Globe Tracks look like. They're in a number of languages. They're distributed all over the world. Well, I'll say that again. They are distributed by the millions all over the world. And this young man, I said young man, Tim Lefevre, is the main founder and director of the Globe Track Ministry. He is also the Globe Director for the Pacific Union Conference. Now, this young man, I met him a few years ago. I saw the anointing of God on him. He doesn't think like a lot of us think. He has special talents and skills that God gave him to organize powerful programs. But he has experience in selling MAGA books, big books, multiple MAGA book leadership stints. He has been in multiple big book leadership campaigns. He attended the Souls West Literature Evangelism Leadership School in, where is that at? Arizona. I went and visited these young people. I've never been with young people that pray on their faces for an hour and a half. But when I went to the Souls West School, I found a unique breed of young people that were on their faces praying to God for an hour and a half. He was part of this group. He has one wife. He found his German wife while giving Globe presentations in Sweden. There are benefits to passing out literature. Tell the young if you're single. There are benefits. He has one baby, 15-month-old Emma. Amen. And in the year 2000, watch this, this man was converted by a Jehovah's Witness. Elder, we praise God for you. Thanks for coming. Come on up and share with us what's on your heart. Let's show him some love here, folks. Praise God.
Some of you might be wondering, what's he mean he was converted by a Jehovah's Witness? These guys going to come and speak for us? Yes. Not about Jehovah's Witness doctrines. I was actually Bible bopped by a Jehovah's Witness when I was, a lot younger, and it actually got me so upset because this guy was, he was very forceful in the conversation that I went home to study my Bible just to disprove him. So even though I've been raised an Adventist, I didn't read my Bible, and in the process of doing so, I started reading The Desire of Ages, and you can't read that book without being converted. Amen?
Amen.
So there we go. From there, it's history. Glad to be here with you this morning. I've been trying to get over a cold as of Sunday in preparation for this very moment, but I still have a cough, so you'll have to forgive me. I am going to be coughing, I'll tell you in advance, and I will be sniffling, but we're going to make it through. Don't feel too bad for me. I have water, okay? It's exciting to be here, and that's a little bit more time than we had talked about earlier, but okay, we'll roll with it. Like I said, it's just good to be out here with you. I love the East Coast. It's so green all the time. Very nice. Good weather. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be colder here. Do you guys get snow in Georgia? Yeah. You do? Sometimes. Okay. Yeah. We don't have it in California very much, where I'm at. But let's get into our talk this morning. I have some slides that I wanted to show you, and hopefully all the technology is going to work with us. Have one more word of prayer? Yes, the Lord be with us. Father, we thank you that this morning we can meet together and Lord, that we can talk about your work. Thank you, Father, that you have extended probation and held the winds back thus far. I pray, Father, that there would be a ripple effect from our meeting today, and that it would not be fruitless, but that many people would come to the kingdom. Pray for this in your name. Amen. Okay, well, let's start off here with our next slide. That's a picture of my wife. I always have to show her. Her name is Ina. She's from the wonderful land of Germany, where you can drive as fast as you want on the freeways. It's called the Autobahn. Tested that out a few times. That's fun. And that's my baby right there, Emma. She was born right on our bed at home birth. Exciting, 15 months ago. And this is her just a little bit later. She's finally started to learn how to walk. I had my in-laws over for about 3 weeks recently, and thankfully she took her very first steps just before they left to go back to Germany. And they were excited to see that. So we got it on film, and it's awesome having a kid. But it's also stressful too. You know, when a kid gets sick, it's just, it messes up your life. So, as you parents can understand, of course. But just thought I'd show you them. Quick business items. Number one is if you'd like to sign yourself up or your church members, you can take this information back. Every week we send out an email that has a new story of people who are passing out glow tracts from America, different parts of the world. If you want to catch some of those stories, we'll send that out to you every Friday. And it should be arriving about 9:30 in the morning for you folks over here. You can sign up at glownews.org. And also, anytime that you distribute a piece of literature, there's actually several ministries that have set up 1 million tract challenges, and they'd like you to contribute your numbers to that. So every time that you distribute a piece of literature, it doesn't have to necessarily be a glow tract, maybe a pocket-sized tract or something like that. You can go onto these two websites, isharechallenge.com, gycchallenge.com. You can input the amount of literature that you distributed, and that'll help towards their 1 million tract distribution goals. What's really cool about this is that, for example, the isharechallenge.com ministry, what they're actually doing is they're offering rewards or prizes for people who get the most amount of literature distributed. The first prize is $2,000 towards your favorite ministry. Second prize is $1,000 towards your favorite ministry. And third prize is, I think it's an iPad mini or something like that. So there are some incentives for going on and reporting your numbers on these websites. So I just wanted to tip you off to that. And I wanted to share a few quick factoids with you. By some estimates, this is the strongest man in the world. 6'3", 400 pounds. There's a picture of him flying in an airplane. Pretty tough guy. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. But yeah, he's pretty buff. This is the fastest man in the world. Everybody knows this guy, right? Usain Bolt. Not necessarily the humblest man in the world. Now I'm a legend, he says. I'm also the greatest athlete to live. But he is the fastest man in the world. And the next person here is, by some ways of determining IQ and so on, he's the smartest man in the world, Kim Ong-young. This guy literally was speaking by the time he was 5 months fluently, and just a few months later he was speaking multiple languages. By the time he was 13, he was working for NASA in America, although he was born in Korea. But he only stayed working at NASA for about 5 years before he got so homesick that he went back home to his mom. And now he just works as an engineer in Korea. He gave up all of the fame he could have. He gave up all the high positions he could have because he just wanted to lead a normal life, interestingly. And many people in Korea were very upset with him because they said, you could have made a great name for our country. You know, this man has an IQ of, I think it was 240 or 260, something like that. Very intelligent, but he's very, very humble too, if you read about him. So we talked about, just quickly, the strongest man in the world, fastest man in the world. Here we've got, by some estimates, the smartest man in the world. And I have a question for you. Who is this next person that I'm going to show you in this picture? This is a superlative person. It's a person who is the most something in the world. The guy on the right. Anybody recognize him? Oh, wow. This is the most something person in the world. Okay? I'll show you another picture. Maybe you'll get it. There he is again. It's a different angle. No? No takers? Richest man in the world, maybe? No? That's Carlos Slim, I think. Yeah, he's the richest man. Right about Bill Gates right now. One more picture, maybe. There he is on the right. No takers? The most uninteresting man in the world? No. This guy right here on the right, is actually the world's most avid glower. This man has distributed over 10 million tracts himself since he became an Adventist only about 5 years ago. And he only has one arm. Before he was converted to Adventism, he was part of an evangelical literature distribution ministry where they would go in and distribute 1 million tracts in large cities over the course of a long weekend. He would be in charge of 17 seven-man teams that would go through and distribute literature to everything that breathed. And now he's on our side. Amen. He was actually converted to Adventism because he was thrown into jail for some shady stuff. And even before he got out of jail, he was already getting glow tracts and other Adventist literature smuggled in, and he was distributing it to the people in jail. There's stories about, after he got out of jail, he would go back to visit that same jail, and he would bring literature in with him, which they wouldn't allow, but he would stuff it in his Bible. And when the security guards would say, "You can't do that," he'd say, "But these are just bookmarks." And then they'd let him go. Get the literature out. So this man is incredible. Not all the tracts that he's distributed in that 10 million are glow tracts, but a lot of them are. And he's been one of our, I'll maybe mention him a little bit later in our presentation, he's been one of our great mentors in helping us understand how to do large-scale mission trips with huge distribution numbers. Because he's done it as an evangelical, and he's also led large distributions, and now that he's been an Adventist, he's been helping us and mentoring us in this as well. And so I hope that towards the end of this presentation I can give you some tips on how we did what we did in Philadelphia. So there we go, world's most avid glower. So just a few quick facts here. This is just some of the statistics of Glow. Glow started in 2007, and it's 2015. We're up to about 58 million tracts that have been printed globally in a lot of different languages. So if you want to, go visit a different part of the world on vacation, go ahead and contact your local publishing director or, us in California, and we can, connect you with people so that you can get literature in the languages where you're going, assuming that you're going to the language areas where we have covered. But these are just some of them: Afrikaans, Czech, Dutch, French, Chinese, and Indonesian. By the way, if you ever preach in Indonesia, make sure that you keep your sermon very short if they're translating, because everything that you say in English is a third longer in Indonesian. It takes a long time for them to translate. German, and intelligent faith, that is what that means. That's Italian, Japanese, Malaysian, Mongolian, Romanian, Spanish, of course, Sign, Tagalog, Vietnamese. Those are just some of the files that we had on Dropbox, which are easy to access. What is this really indicative of? 58 million tracts, a lot of different languages. What that's an indication of is not that, the people who do Glow in some back office are really great super geniuses that work 24 hours a day. No, that's not the point. What this is an indication of is that there are a lot of Adventists all over the world who are just taking a few tracts and they're passing them out, and it adds up to big numbers. And they're also saying, I want to take this ministry and I want to make it part of my ministry in my part of the world. And so they're helping us translate these tracts into various languages. Most of the translation done here is not by professionals. It's not done by our Adventist presses. It's just done by laity who approach us and say, we want to take your tracts and translate them. And so we help them with the file development, etc., help them get print runs going, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do right now is, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mission trip that we did to Philadelphia. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the foundation of Glow, the most important thing with Glow. And that is literature distribution by everyday church members. All of us here are from a local church. We all represent a local church in one way or another. And all of us have influence in that local church. It should be a burden on each one of our hearts that we activate every church member that we can to distribute literature wherever they go. Because of two reasons. Number one, when you really aim for that, long term you're going to get out more literature if you have every grandma in Adventism passing out 2 tracts a day than if you go out and you do a 1 million tract distribution when the Pope comes to town. Does that make sense? Amen. So just in terms of raw numbers, we're literally going to get out more literature if we activate more of our church members to do a small amount faithfully than we would if we do big things. periodically and sporadically. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just logically, it's a really good thing to activate as many, Joe Schmoes, everyday people as you can. That's what we're supposed to do. Second reason why we want to activate everybody is because activating Adventists is a goal in and of itself. You know that quote where Ellen White says that when the majority of God's people know what it means to be co-laborers together with Him, God will recognize the fact by an outpouring of the Spirit without measure. Right? So the latter rain is coming when? It's coming after the majority, which is at least 51%, after the majority of our people are co-laborers together with Him. So activating people is in and of itself a goal. And that's what we want to do. We want to activate people because we want the latter rain to come. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you very basic 6 methods that we have been using recently, which are very exciting, that you can teach to your church members when you go back home. 6 methods of how to distribute tracts. There's a lot of methods that we can go over. In fact, I have a presentation where I have 11 categories of methods of distribution. And I ordered in that presentation at one time. It was at the Wisconsin camp meeting. It took me 3 hours to get through it. But we're not going to do that here. I've got 47 minutes left. So I'm just going to go over the top 6 methods that I chose to highlight for this time. And I think they're really applicable and relevant for us. And you guys just jot these down on a piece of paper maybe take some notes on it on your iPad, iPhone. And you can take these back to your churches and get a little training seminar, okay? All right, so method number 1 that we're going to cover today. This is the most efficient method of getting out large numbers of glow in daily life. Anybody want to take a guess at what that method is? It has to be something you can do in daily life, so we're not talking about flying over a city and dropping it out, in an airplane. It has to be something that is efficient at getting out large numbers, not something that's small numbers.
Drop them off when you go to Walmart.
Drop them off when you go to, how would you drop them off though?
You hand them out.
You mean hand them out to just the people around? Cashiers, okay? Yeah. That's good. That's a good guess. Good. Any other takers? What's the most efficient method?
Well, pass them out to your daily routine.
Pass them out in your daily routine, okay? Several people assisting you, okay? Okay.
Southern Union wide.
Southern Union what?
Southern Union wide. Every church.
There you go.
Carry them with you everywhere you go.
Okay, carry them with you? Yeah, that's definitely a prerequisite. I'm going to have them, right? There's been so many times when I walk into you know how it is when you got tracts in your car so that you can pass them out, then you go into the store and you forget to pick up the tract. Every time that happens, right, or at least 3/4 of the time, you have some kind of crazy divine appointment with the cashier or something like that, and you're like, man, I wish I had that tract. And then you got to go all the way back out to your car and pick it up and bring it back in, So, yeah, you got to keep your tracts with you, definitely. All right, so I'm just going to tell it to you, okay? This is the most efficient method, is putting them on car doors. Putting them on car doors. Now, this won't work with every form of tract and every book. It does work with glow tracts because they're just about the right size. And there's essentially 2 kinds of car doors, okay? There's 2 kinds of car doors. Now, I know some of you are thinking about what's the legalities of that. That's fine, we can talk about that later. We'll get that stuff up. But there's 2 kinds of car doors. There's ones where, like on a newer Toyota Corolla, where the handle pops out, and then there's ones where if you were to rub your hand across the door, it'd be flat the whole way, even over the handle. You have to reach in to pull it out. Make sense? Okay, most of the car doors are the pop-out ones. So for those kind of doors, all you do is you take your tract like this, standing vertically, tall, and you just bend it, not so that it's creased, but so that it wants to spring back. All right? I put it in between my thumb and my middle finger, and yes, I am taking time to explain this detail, because it makes a huge difference, all right? And then you just push it forward with your index finger, and then when you're walking by that car door, which car door do you want to put it on? Driver's side, because you cannot assume that there's more than one person in that car, right? So, but there at least has to be a driver, or otherwise it'd be kind of weird sitting in the passenger. So anyway, you walk by, and you just, boop, you pop it in. Alternately, you can go this way. You pop it in. And it works. Now, for the other kind of car door, where you have to reach in to pull it out, the car door's flat, you take the track, and you bend it this way. All right? First one, you bend it this way, right? Second one, you bend it this way. That was confusing because I twisted it. Well, anyway, you bend it this way. And then you tuck it up underneath, inside, and it always holds. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. It takes a little bit more practice to be smooth at it. But if you practice this enough, I guarantee you'll get it down to the point where you won't even have to stop your pace at all. You literally, like, you're looking in advance and you see that car in the parking lot, and you pull the tract out of your pocket, you fold it, boom. You don't even look down, you keep on going. Boom. It's so easy, folks. In fact, I recommend this if you want to do it even faster. There's efficient ways and less efficient ways of working in parking lots, okay? You know how cars are parked along lines that have branches off of them, right? You can call those islands. Well, if you just go up one island and down another, then you've got to weave in and out between cars, right? It takes a lot of work to do that. But if you're just going by yourself, well, for organizational purposes, that's great. If you're leading a team, you want to give them islands to work because it's more easy to organize. Say, guys, take an island each. But if you're out there by yourself going to Walmart, because this is everyday life, right? Then what you want to do is go in between islands, okay? So you cut here, boom. The next car you can put it on is the one that's facing towards you, and then you got the driver's side on this side, boom. And then you go to the next island, and you get this one, and then this one. Next island, this one, and then this one. And it's so fast. Okay? You got that down? Are you going to be able to teach that to your church members now? Now what you do with your church members is after you explain this, you challenge them. In fact, you should explain this at potluck, and then challenge them immediately after you're done to go out into the church parking lot and practice. And then get really good at it. Because once they practice, then it's cemented in their minds, they're going to remember it more. Right? Here it comes. Okay, good for another 10 minutes. All right, so that's number one. You know, this really works. We've had a lot of good results from this. People have called in. Sometimes the tracts, you know, they get on the doors. Sometimes they fall on the ground. That's even fine. People pick them up off the ground and they read them. They call them. They sign up for Bible studies. I'm going to share with you a voicemail right now.
Hi, my name's Brandon Stevens. I actually found a pamphlet of yours on the ground and picked it up and read it. And it's very, very interesting to me. If there's any kind of literature I can get for free, I would be more than happy to. Thank you.
One of many voicemails that we receive from people who find literature where? On the ground. And they sign up for Bible studies. By the way, whenever you pass out one of these tracts, you know, all of our Adventist literature has a great follow-up. And what we try to do with these tracts is make it the same way. When you go to the website on the back, depending on the website, most of them have it so that you'll see a picture of America come up, and then the person who visits it, they get to click on the state that they're from, and then that'll route them to the localized contact information on the back, the localized conference. That's really helpful. Now, what if you pass out one of these tracts outside of America? Is it irrelevant then, the follow-up information? Absolutely not. We've set it up so that the internet actually senses where the tracts are, where the person's logging in from. So if you log in from, if a person gets your tract and then they read it and they log in America, they'll see the American map. But if you're over passing these out in Japan, for example, it'll sense where they're coming in from, and it'll take them to the appropriate website, so they can get the follow-up resources where they're needing it. Okay. All right. So that's just some pictures of people distributing literature on car doors. Had a lot of great examples of people doing that. One of the things that we did when we were in Philadelphia is we would focus on this million tract distribution. We would focus on areas where there were high concentrations of parked cars. And we would go in there and we would just distribute like crazy. Do you know you can put out more literature at a faster rate on a pile of parked cars than you can with a crowd of people? And if you're in a crowd of people, it's less efficient to stand and wait for them to come to you than it is for you to be moving through the crowds opposite way, depending on how heavy of a crowd it is. In other words, you know, if it's kind of scattered and people are coming through slowly, or if you're standing in a place that's just this heavy flow, well, that's one thing, you know. But anyway, we did a lot of car door handles, and as you can see, I mean, we've just got pictures right here of all the empty boxes, you know, just from using simple methods of passing them out on car doors for the majority of the time. It was really exciting. That right there, that picture is on the left, is one of our teams. The very last night that we were out passing out the tracts with about 1 million Catholics for the Papal Mass in Philadelphia. They had just finished, and that's pretty much the last tracts that were passed out for the entire mission trip right there. So that's the kind of the apex picture that you're looking at.
Amen.
So you can see how excited they are after that. I mean, some of these guys, the guy on the left here with the white shirt, holding his hand up and smiling, his name's Joey. He was literally stopping crowds, street-wide crowds of people that were coming, exiting from the Mass, and just stopping and saying, hey, did you guys get to see the Pope? And all this kind of stuff. And they would stop and talk, and he would just be passing out tracts. He said he unloaded, like, how many was it? I don't want to overestimate, but literally it was thousands in 10 minutes, you know, just crowds. So, exciting times. I want to talk a little bit more about that later. This guy, by the way, on the lower right, African-American brother there, Justin, he made our video for us. You guys got to see that. It's great. But this guy's so old. He got up. We were in university, downtown Philly, passing out tracts. He just stopped filming, stood up on the street corner, and started preaching to all the university students as they were walking out, professors, for lunchtime, talking about the Pope being the Antichrist. And while they, crowds were coming together to listen to him, we had our people out there passing out literature in the crowds, and it was just exciting. Excellent. Okay, moving on. Method number 2. Yes, methods on how to reach out. Method number 1 is car doors. Method number 2, this is the cheapest way to man every intersection in your town. Wouldn't it be great if you could just duplicate yourself, clone yourself, and position one of yourselves on every single corner, in your town, and everything that was breathing that walked by would get tracked? Wouldn't that be amazing? There's a way that you can kind of do that, and that is to use glow racks. You see that? It's actually a new product that we came up with that was actually developed by an elderly woman from a church in Fresno. She just came into the office one day and she showed us this pattern on an 8.5 by 11 that you could simply cut out with a pair of scissors, fold, staple, put double-sided sticky tape on, and then post anywhere with literature in it. Hey, and so what we did is we put this thing on steroids. We now print these templates on bright colored flamboyant paper, like this pink, right? And we put the words free, take one, on the top. It's already printed on there. And then all we have what we do is when we go out on mission trips, this is one of the big tools that we used on the mission trip, is, we would have our team, literally in the morning, a section of our team, their job was to make as many of these glow tags. We call them glow tags. You go around town tagging town up. They would make these glow tags. They'd make about, 100, 150 of them a day, as many as they could in the time that they had. And then we'd just go through them like that. And literally they'd stay there, they'd get empty, and then when we go back into town, we'd just refill them. It was great. And guess what, guys? If somebody throws that away, how much does that cost you? Nothing. Because it's just an 8.5 by 11. You can get 2 glow tags off of just one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So what you do is you go back to your church, right? You get some of these glow tags. You can get them off the internet, template, print it out on nice bright paper. Have your pathfinders, your youth get together. Your elderly people who are in wheelchairs can't go door to door. And Sabbath afternoon, they cut out as many of those things as they can. They fold them up, they staple them, they put the double-sided sticky tape on the back. And then have your people go out and just place them. The most exciting thing is to take these glow tags already filled up, have like 20 of them in your car, and just drive around town, see where you can put them. I mean, it's like a scavenger hunt. Everywhere you put it, people are going to get 20 tracks at a time, 20 tracks available. It's awesome, and it's dirt cheap. So that's what the template looks like. You can access that on our Facebook page. If you just Google glow and Facebook, or I should say Google Giving Light to Our World Facebook, it'll take you right to it. And that resource is on there. And if you don't use Facebook or don't know how to do that, then just talk to me afterwards. I can give you my contact info so we can hook you up with that template, okay?
What's the name of the page?
Giving Light. If you just Google Facebook, Giving Light to Our World, or just Giving Light, you'll probably pull it up, okay? Here's a picture. We just had a GLT. That's called a Glow Leadership Training, where we have each church has a local glow leader, and they come together 2 times a year to the conference, and we train them on new methods, and we were training them on the glow tags. So here we have a bunch of them that just got made. This is a gratis on the right. That's a picture of the glow tags being used down in Bolivia. They're getting into them down there now. And here's a little kid. This is what he's doing. He's putting it on the newspaper box. I'm not necessarily condoning all of these methods, but hey, you know what? You get to the church members, they're going to do what they're going to do. All right? So here you got it on the auto. People are putting it on the auto sales, the place where you get change for the laundromat. There's a lot of places to put those things. Okay. All right, moving on. Method number 3. I love it when people call in. They're upset. Somebody put these tracks in our store. Or somebody put these tracks in the national park. Something like that. And we're just like, sorry, we're just a distributor. No, really. You know, honestly, when I train people, I don't say anything that I don't teach you guys methods that, I don't teach anybody methods that I think are illegal. So, you know, but if you guys go out and do something that, you know, I didn't, hey, you're going to do what you're going to do. So. All right. So, moving on. Method number 3. This is a method I put in here just, because I want to emphasize it. Good one. Gas station pumps. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses have a corner market on all the laundromats, right? They own those things. You go in a laundromat, Jehovah's Witness material there. But as Adventists, we should own the gas stations. Amen? We should take over those things, folks. Yeah, I'm telling you, every time you go and get gas, it's an evangelistic opportunity. Gas stations are hubs where people come to, and they can be reached with literature. So how do you do it? Well, here's a couple pictures of how people place their literature. On the far left, you can just tuck it in underneath that handle when you put it back. You can stick it right there. I've never put it inside the credit card. That's kind of weird. I guess you would have to pull that out before you put your credit card in, so that's kind of smart. And then over here on this one, you might not be able to see it very well, but what's posted up here? That's a glow tag. Yeah? Cool. So there's a lot of different ways to put glow literature right there. I personally like where the receipt prints out. A lot of times, depending on the model of the gas pump, the receipt prints out. There's little black sidings that hold the receipt. You can just tuck your glow tractor right up underneath of that, and the receipt would print out on top of it if they chose not to take it. And it's just picture perfect. It holds it in place great. It's nice. Gas stations are a great way to get out literature. What I like to do also is I'll give it to people. When I'm there, when I'm personally at a gas station, I'll put it on all the empty pumps. But if I'm feeling really brave, I'll go give it to people. And here's how I'll give it to people, okay? I go up to them and pretend Keith over here is pumping gas. Say, Keith. Or, hey, sir, do you mind if I leave this little pamphlet on the gas pump for the next person who comes? Now, what's Keith going to say? Of course. Am I giving it to Keith?
No.
I'm not giving it to Keith. But what's Keith eventually going to say?
Curiosity.
What's that? Right? So you leave it for the next person, and then you give him the second one if he takes it that way. If he goes there. Make sense? So you never get rejected, and you're leaving it for the next person. That's how I like to do it. You can do whatever you want. Just don't be too mean because we get the calls, right? On the other end, right? Publishing directors. Okay. Method number 4 out of 6 methods. So we're wrapping up. We're going to talk about the mission trip. Okay. Method number 4 is a method where you get people to come to you to ask for the tracts. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. You could just walk down Atlanta and people are coming up and asking for tracts. I'm not saying a lot of people, but some people will come up and they'll ask you for it. Anybody want to guess how this one works?
T-shirt.
Yep. You got it, man. You guys are too smart. All right. Glow t-shirts. Now you can just make one of these. You don't have to buy one. You just make one. Get a white t-shirt, get some markers, write something on it, right? I know of a group one time, youth group, they went into Walmart as a team. They had white t-shirts that they had marked on. And the white t-shirts, the lettering said, "Take the tract to unfreeze me." So they would walk through, finish my story, I guess you know what I'm talking about. They would walk through as a group, not separate, but they'd walk through, Walmart, and automatically they just, and what would they have in their hands? A tract. And so people would take the tract, and eventually they'd be like, what's going on? Weirdos over here. And then they'd make sure to get the point, take the tract, and then they keep on going about their business. Young adults, man, they come up with some crazy ideas. Of course, I'm not one of those. I'm only 31 in a few days, so I'm not young. Now, for those of you older folks who are thinking I am, go read Genesis. There's some people in there who are a little bit older than you. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? I remember when I was in high school, somebody said, they came in a class and they're like, dude, late at night, did you know that in 11 years you're going to be 30? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like this epiphany. I was like, what? When you put it that way, man, when you're 30, life's over, you know? Boring. Anyway, okay, so glow t-shirts. It's just a picture of some of the ones that we have. We made two different kinds right now. I mean, there's a billion ways that you can make these shirts. We're thinking of making some that say, like, ask me what's going to happen in the future. You know, and then you give them a Bible prophecy tract. Or ask me what happens when you die. And that kind of thing. Or ask me who the Antichrist is. And then you give them an Isaac Newton tract or something. By the way, folks, you know that we live in a different world now as Adventists than we did 2 months ago.
Yes, Lord.
Because of Ben Carson
Yes, Lord.
and the media. And what they've exposed about what we as Adventists believe about the papacy. You know, I don't think that we realize that, but the thing that we're most afraid of as Adventists sometimes is that the media is going to get a hold of the fact that we believe that the Catholic Church is the Antichrist power. We're very terrified of that. But guys, it's already happened. You Google his name for a good solid 2 days, and I follow this guy like all the time. For a solid 2 days, you Google his name, top thing that would come up would be that Ben Carson's church believes, blah, blah, blah. The United States is going to join with the Catholic Church. They're going to oppress people, bring on Sunday laws, that people who don't go to church on Saturday are going to hell, all this kind of stuff. Not that we necessarily believe. You know what I mean? Okay, so, why was I talking about that? Okay, let's keep on going. So, with these shirts, one of them says on the front and back, ask me for a free Bible pamphlet. Very simple, right? The other one is our motivator shirt. It says, I will give you $5 if you ask me for a Bible pamphlet, and I don't have one. So you definitely want to keep track with you on that, or have an undershirt so you can take that one off if you don't. There was a young man who was wearing that one in a store. A guy came up, asked him for a tract. He didn't have one, and the guy was going to be nice and say, "Oh, you don't have to give me the tract, or you don't have to give me money." The kid was like, "No, I wore this shirt. I need to give you money." So they exchanged contact information, and this youth went back home. And he got his $5, and he went over to this guy's business, and gave him the $5. He was honest. He followed through, and we should be too. So I was with an associate, and we were over at eating in a restaurant down in LA, and for some meetings, and we were sitting in the outside portion of the restaurant, and he was wearing this motivator shirt. And some guy who's, I think, kind of partially drunk with some other people in a crowd, they walk by. This guy starts reading out loud off the back of his shirt, "I will give you $5 to all of his friends." Thankfully, my associate there, Joel, had some tracts with him. Otherwise, he would have lost $5 to each one of those people in that group. So, motivator shirts. Okay. Moving on, method number 5 of 6. All right, this is a method where you can knock on doors without being rejected. Method where you can knock on doors without being rejected. Boy, what did I put down for this? I'm even interested in this one. Okay, let's see what it says. Halloween, yes, that's right. Halloween and holiday glowing. Of all days of the year, Halloween is the best day to go door to door, right? Even for the people in your church who are terrified of going door to door. Why? Because number 1, everybody's already going door to door, so you just blend in with the crowd, right? Number 2, everybody at the doors is expecting you to come to their doors, right? So that's easy. And number 3, I said 2 ideas, but number 3, when you go out there, glow and literature distribution just goes hand in hand with this whole idea. Rather than taking something and give it, we call this glowing in the dark. Or when we go to the door, we say trick or truth, and we give them track. And it's just great. I have a video I want to show you on the next slide about a person who was actually converted because tracts were passed out on Halloween night.
Hello, my name's Alexis. I'm from Mentone, California. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I came to the church. It was Halloween of 2012, and I was trick-or-treating with my little brother. Once we got home, I went through his candy to make sure it was all safe, and I found a Twilight glow track. On the back of this glow track, it said specifically on how to get free Bible studies. And I went online and put in a submission for these free Bible studies, and a full circle Bible worker came to my house and offered to give me Bible studies.
during that event, I received a phone call on my answer machine at work, and it was a young girl by the name of Alexis. She received a glow tract that Halloween night by her brother. Her brother picked up a glow tract as someone was handing it to him. They went home and she started going through the candy, and she found this glow tract called Twilight. Right away, I connected her to a Bible worker in the nearby area by the name of Andy.
This girl was hungry to know more about the Bible. I remember that through the Bible studies, through prayer, through the questions that I would ask, she was so interested. You could see that her interest was very genuine as well.
So I agreed to have Bible studies with Andy. And the first Bible study we had was about, I think it was on like who Jesus was, but because I was only doing studies on my own, I could answer all of those questions. But the third study I remember very clearly. He went over the millennium, state of the dead, and hellfire all in one study. It took a few hours. From there, he kind of really just started picking it up with things like the Sabbath and just present truth, just doctrine. And he kind of realized that's what I needed to hear.
It's so beautiful to know that our little pieces of literature have not only affected Alexis's life, but can affect thousands of people's lives. But it can only do that if we do what we did that night, and that is pass these little tracts out by faith. And as a result, Alexis is now doing the same, passing out literature and changing people's lives as well.
There's other Alexises out there who are searching and they just need that jump start. And Flow is a perfect way to go and do that and to go and spread the precious truth that we have. You can pass out Glow in your neighborhood, pass it out to your coworker, leave it in a car that you park next to your, what we do personally, give it to your waiter when you fill out the check, give it to whoever you see, a homeless person, anyone, because these tracts are precious. These tracts do reach people. I know.
Amen.
Purchasing stuff. Okay, method number 6, our last method here. We'll talk about the mission trip. This is the most straightforward method. You guys can probably guess what this is, right? Thus far, we talked about placing literature in areas, but what do you think we got to do left? What's next? Giving it directly to people, right? I mean, that's definitely how we should be doing things too. So, giving tracts directly to people is amazing. You know, I mean, you guys can teach your church members how to do this very easily. They're going to ask the same question that normally is asked. What do you say? It depends on the context. Most times you don't have to say much of anything. I just say, check this out. That's about it. When we were down in Philadelphia with the crowds passing by, I didn't even say anything. It was all body language, you know? If the tract is close to their stomach, they took it. All right, so I'm going to show you a video of a woman who was baptized because she got glow tract given directly to her. Illustrate this. She owns a barber or a salon in a town called Madera, California.
I want to share a heart-touching experience that occurred about 2 years ago. Our church had planned to go and distribute glow tracts after the service, and we decided to go to a mall.
There were people there handing out tracts, and there was one man in particular that I walked, he sort of walked up to me, and I walked up to him.
I gave the glow tract to her, and she was like speechless for 2 seconds. And then I could see on her face that it seemed to me like she was touched.
It was actually on the Sabbath.
Really? Wow.
And right when I saw that, I was like, we are going to talk. I mean, like, we're going to engage in a conversation right now.
She was praying to God to give her a sign about the truth that she wants to learn from God.
So he actually had me kind of snapped him.
And she learned about the Sabbath.
I took him with me and I just read them all.
I was feeling that at least God touched one person's heart, or maybe more, and then this person actually really touched my heart.
I started looking around because I'm like, I need to find a church that will, that will be keeping the Sabbath. good one for them. I always have at least 12 different ones on hand.
She has become a glow leader in the church.
Well, I'm the first glow rep at Sunnyside, at my church. First one there. And my husband and I actually mounted a track rack, if you will.
She ordered the racks to be installed in the church.
And I keep it stocked. I switch them out, have different tracks all the time in there.
The man's name who gave you the glow track for her part, what was his name?
Anil.
This lady's name was Jeanette.
And I thanked him, thank you so much for handing me that. Just being obedient to the Holy Spirit.
It was very sweet, and you can have the same experience too.
Of course, I'm not even going to.
So just for context, this lady, Jeanette, had gotten 2 pieces of literature randomly on the topic of the Sabbath previous to this. And she was praying, God, if this is you speaking to me about Saturday observance, please give me another piece of literature on this very same topic. She then bumped into Anil in that mall, and he gave her a tract, and of all things, it was on the Sabbath, and everything went from there. She completed Bible studies, all the Bible studies, in about 2 weeks, and was baptized. And she is one of our most faithful glow leaders in the local church. It's amazing. So, and Anil's an awesome guy too. He came out with us to Philadelphia on the mission trip and everything. But okay, let's keep on moving here. This is a bonus method. I guess I threw in a bonus method or two. We've got a guy, truth members, you'll give them ideas, but then they'll come up with even more creative ideas on how to distribute literature. And this guy, no exception. This church member has a replica, a 2-foot tall replica of the Daniel 2 statue. And what he does is he takes this out into public, and he sits down in a chair, and he puts the replica standing up right in front of him. And he just sits there. And when people walk by, what do you think they do? They're like, what is that? Well, I'm glad you asked. And then he gives them a glow tract on Daniel 2. Very simple. Another guy actually has it. Now, this is harder to duplicate, but he has a 1-footed cockatoo he walks around with. When he goes to the park, the kids want to see it all the time. And he's trained his cockatoo. When the kids come up, he gives the cockatoo a glow tract and a beak, and the cockatoo hands it to the kids, and they take it. So, all right. So just creative ideas. Bonus method number 2 here, public reading. Just a quick video. Well, you know what? I'm going to skip the video just because we're low on time. But essentially, the video is about this guy. He didn't know how to pass out glow tracts. He was intimidated by it, but he wanted to give it directly to people. So what he did is he got this idea when he was praying about it. Next time he was in Walgreens in a line, he pulls out his glow tract and he starts. Where's my glow tract? He pulls out his glow tract and he gets this idea to read it like this in line. He just starts reading it like this. And the person in front of him, she turns around, and she starts reading it too, the backside. And eventually she gets interested, and she asks for the tract. Because I think, well, let me finish reading it, And after he's done, then he gives it to her, and it's just so simple. So anyway, church members, they're really cool. So they'll come up with all kinds of ideas that you never even thought of, and you just need to get started in your church. Okay? All right. So let's now talk about, in our last 15 minutes here, the mission trip that just happened. So we're going to skip through the video. Skip. Thank you. As you all know, in September, Pope Francis came to visit the United States for the first time. He went to, Washington. He spoke to Congress. Then he went to the UN over in New York. And then he came to Philadelphia for his 3rd stop. We decided to go on a mission trip to Philadelphia. It was Friday night before this happened. My wife was gone somewhere. I was home by myself. And God just kept on pounding me with this overriding conviction. We got to do something. We got to do something. And as soon as I just gave in to the pressure, I said, God, what do you want us to do? What do you want me and Glow? What do you want us to do about Pope coming over? Immediately, it's almost like stuck a USB in my ear, and the plans just appeared. So I went to the computer and I jotted them down as fast as I could. And then I said, well, Lord, but this is going to cost money. So how do we do this? Immediately, the answer came. A millionaire donor. He's part of your conference. Talk to him tomorrow. I made one phone call. 5 minutes later, I set up an appointment with this guy for the next day. Drive down there next day. Again, during the church service, as I'm waiting to meet with this guy in the afternoon, God confirmed it through the message of the pastor. This is what needs to happen. We have to do tough things right now. We need to get it done. And so I meet with this guy. Literally, I have chicken scratched notes on a paper You know, I listed people that I thought I could invite, and one of them was this guy, I didn't know his name, but I knew he had a big beard. So I was like, a bearded guy. I mean, even that was on this chicken scratch note. And I go up to this millionaire, and I give him this, you know, informal piece of scratch paper. And I'm explaining this to him. A minute later, he's like, how much do you need? And it was done. So thing after thing after thing came together. And we saw God's hand through this the entire way. Like, literally, folks, publishing directors especially, as you're thinking about doing large campaigns like this, where you're going to distribute millions of pieces of literature, the easiest way to do it is not to get the church, the missionaries themselves to raise the funds to publish the million tracts, but it's to get donors to do it. And if you pick an expedition or whatever that has a strong enough sense of mission to it, people will they will donate towards it. People will donate towards passing out 1 million tracts when the Pope comes, because it's a serious matter. We're doing a mission trip to San Francisco and the Bay Area for the upcoming Super Bowl. We're going to distribute another 1 million tracts. The funding has come in from churches. It's coming from our union. It's coming from our conference. It's coming from individuals. It's coming from a variety of sources. And already, right now, we have the sufficient amount of money that we need, and we're well in advance of the mission trip itself. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't let funding be the issue that stops you from making a large mission trip happen, okay? So not all of you here, I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to all of you directly, I'm talking mostly to people who are going to orchestrate larger mission trips like this. Funding is not a problem. So if it is, well, talk to me, I might know a few people who can put some money towards it. So we went to Philadelphia. We did a mission trip for 10 days. The Pope was going to be in Philadelphia for only 2 days, but we were there for 8.5 days before he came. And our purpose was to distribute 1 million tracts during the course of those 10 days. And the majority of our tracts went out in the community of Philadelphia, downtown, before the Pope came for the last 2 days. During the last 2 days was when the major crowds came together. There was anywhere from 1 to 1.5 million Catholics and various people in downtown, and there were huge crowds. So that's when we went and actually did, you know, the large crowd. We were just looking for hardcore parking lots. We were looking for the biggest malls. We were looking for the biggest stores where there were parked cars, okay? And it just went well. Here we are planning out the map here of the territory. On the left here we got Rodney Grissom. Many of you know him. He was Allegheny East was the main conference that we were working in conjunction with. They let us stay at their facilities over in Pine Forge Academy. The missionaries, and then we'd take a 50-minute commute to get into Philadelphia every day, and we just hit it up. And it was exciting. This is just a picture. This is a picture of one of the entrances to get in to the area where the Pope was going to be driving through. One of the entrances, just to give you an estimate, you know, kind of a picture of what that amount of people looks like. That line right there, where you see those black, like right below that white banner. That's where the security stations were, and they would, you know, look at all of your stuff in your bags and make sure you didn't have any weapons. One of our guys was in, you know, he'd gotten through, got cleared, and then he was inside, and he left his bag on the ground, stepped away for a minute, and the bomb squad was on it like that. They cut it open with a razor. They were looking at it when it was okay, so his whole bag was messed up. When we were in there, as we were getting closer to the days when the Pope was going to be there, security was heightened. There was military everywhere, police, that kind of stuff. We were flying our drone to get some shots for the video, and it was too close to a bridge or whatever, and they got our videographer in the hot seat, and they were going to call the Homeland Security on him. But thankfully we got out of that situation. We also got pulled over. One of our teams by undercover SWAT when we were, just because we were filming as we were driving by. We got that whole thing on film as the SWAT officers coming up and you know, interrogating and all that kind of stuff. And in the video, you'll see it, if we do watch it, you'll see it. The guy actually asks the SWAT guy, he's like, "Are you filming me?" And the videographer's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why?" It says, "All for documentary purposes." This guy's bold, man. Our videographer, he's great. So anyway, lots of stories came out of this. I mean, the first day that we went out, the very first day, it was just a Sabbath afternoon outreach. My time went away. I don't know how much time I have left. We were around probably by now, about 10 minutes maybe left. Okay. Excuse me. The very first day we went out, it was only a half day, Sabbath afternoon. People showed up Friday. We went to church Saturday. Sabbath afternoon, we went out for a first outreach. First outreach, we're in the car in the parking lots in just a local area there, Pottstown, where the conference office is. And very first day, a woman or a man actually comes up to one of our missionaries as they're putting tracks on cars, and he's like, "Hey, did you put this on my car?" And they're like, "No, I didn't, but my partner over there probably did." And anyway, come to find out, this person tried to give our missionary $100 because they were just so overwhelmed with gratitude because they were considering committing suicide, and they got the tracks on their car that day, and they read it, and it had impacted their life. The very first day that we were working, so God put his, you know how that works, publishing directors. This happens all the time down in the field. When we go out, God he gives us these little miracles. He pulls aside the veil so that we can see as a team and be encouraged to continue to do what we're doing. As we got closer and closer to the day when the Pope was going to come, the 2 days, we had various things happen with our group. For example, one day, some of our missionaries were beginning to get vocal about how they were afraid to go out in the streets because we were going into downtown Philadelphia, which is, it's not the safest place to be, especially after dark. But we had no other options. We had to go there. And so we told everybody, guys, you didn't sign up on a mission trip to go to Disneyland. You signed up on a mission trip to go down to Philadelphia, And anyway, the very day they were vocalizing concerns was the very day that afternoon when we were working, God gave us evidence after evidence after evidence that he was watching out for us. It was that day that the cops came up, pulled over one of our people, and they said, "Hey, we've seen you out here, my team, we know what you're doing, we're not going to stop you, just want to let you know we're out here to watch your back."
Hey.
That very same day, one of our guys was walking out, he was passing out tracts, and or a girl actually, one of our teammates, and it was kind of a scarier neighborhood, and 2 guys come up and they say, "Hey, we read what you're passing out. This is excellent stuff. Hey, let us just come with you. We're going to watch your back for the next little while here. If anybody gives you problems in this neighborhood, let them know, that they'd be messing with us, and tell them our name and all this kind of thing." And then they just went along and helped them the whole time. We had one of our people, so God was answering through the testimonies and experiences the very fears that we were having, right? So the very day before we're going to go and do the distribution in the large crowds, right? God gave us another indication that he was definitely with us. This is definitely what he wanted to have happen. Probably one of the most intense experiences we had was right before we went in to the large crowds for the last 2 days. One of our guys named Jericho, this is some homeschooled kid, he's like 19, the guy wears suspenders, the whole bit. But I don't know why, he's innocent or something, and God is able to really use this guy. He was our top distributor. This guy would unload 4,000 tracts a day, minimum. We put him in multi-level parking garages. He'd go in there and hit it up. Sometimes I dropped him off in this apartment complex with parking lots and stuff, and I told him and his partner, I said, "Don't get caught." And they went in there, and the one guy got kicked out immediately. And the other guy, Jericho, he stayed in there, and at a certain point, they had 3 vehicles, security vehicles looking for him, and 2 security officers on foot. And he was literally, when they come by, he just pretend like he wasn't doing anything, or he'd kind of hide behind the car around the angle and that kind of thing. And he hit up the whole thing, dumped about 2,000 tracts, and got out of there, didn't get caught. But anyway, so this guy, Jericho, he's going up. One day, the day before we go in for the crowds, he gives a tract to this guy, and the guy says, "Where are the other ones?" And then the guy proceeds to name the titles of the 3 tracts that were not given to him.
Wow.
And then he also says, "Where's your partner?" And so Jericho's like, "What are you talking about? How did you know the tracts that I didn't give you? And a partner? I don't have a partner." Come to find out, this guy he said, about 2.5 months previous to that, this guy had a dream where he saw Jericho and a big buff partner together coming to him and giving him this literature, and the big guy said basically, when this guy comes to you and gives you, make sure that you get all 5, and this guy has what you want. He wants the goods. I don't remember the exact words, but it's on the video. Just watch the video, okay? The promo video is about 56 minutes. It's great. And so that testimony really encouraged us before we went in. And so we went into the crowds. It was awesome. It was amazing. I mean, there were times when you couldn't even pull the tracks out fast enough. You know what I'm talking about. You guys have been to these sporting events, right? I mean, it's amazing. I had 2 guys debating with me at one time who were Catholics, while I'm passing out tracts. One was a Catholic seminarian. He was going over, you guys wouldn't have an epistemology, you wouldn't have churches, you wouldn't have all this kind of stuff to go on for the Catholic Church and all this kind of thing. And I'm just like, okay. don't got time to talk right now. I exchanged email addresses with one of them, and we're still, in debate with each other or whatever. But overall, it's very exciting. I'm going to close with this, okay? I'm going to share with you a quote. In the process of putting this together, and I see God doing the same thing here. Apparently, you guys are getting into going to large events, and we're just now getting into it. And so I see, like 1844, William Miller was preaching a message, but over in Europe, Wolfe was preaching the same message. God's moving the same way in different localities. This is another indication to me that this is what we're needing to head into as a publishing ministry. If I had more time, I'd like to talk to many of the individuals here about how to do smaller scale mission trips in your own local areas, so you don't have to wait for the larger ones. But, that'll be maybe for another time. I want to share with you this quote. In the process of putting this mission trip together, God confirmed that we were doing the right thing through this quote. And you'll probably want to have this quote too, especially for the publishing directors here. Ellen White says this, and I was blown away when I read this. It just really confirmed it to me. She says, I was given instruction that as we approach the end, there will be large gatherings in our cities, and that preparations must be made to present the truth at these gatherings. When Christ was upon this earth, he took advantage of such opportunities. Whenever there was a large number of people that were gathered for any purpose, his voice was heard, clear and distinct, giving his message. And as a result, after his crucifixion and ascension, thousands were converted in a day. Now catch this. Leaflets containing the light of present truth should be scattered among the people like the leaves of autumn. To many who attend these gatherings, these leaflets would be as the leaves of the tree of life, which are for the healing of the nations. The time has come when, as never before, Seventh-day Adventists are to arise and shine, because their light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon them. Amen. That's letter 296, 1904. Amen. So, this is something we need to start moving towards. And I really want to encourage each of you, go back home, get your church members to pass out Glow in Everyday Life. Publishing directors here, we'll encourage you to continue to do what you're doing with large gatherings. Let's see what we can do to do more of those. And for those of you who would be interested in coming on the mission trip to the Super Bowl, you can visit us at 1millionglow.org. You can find out information about it, and you can even register online there. The website is 1millionglow.org. That's what it looks like if you want to come to the Super Bowl with us to distribute 1 million tracts. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and maybe this is more for the publishing directors as well. October 31, 2017 is the 500-year anniversary of the beginning of the Reformation when Martin Luther put the 95 Theses on the door. So there's going to be a lot of celebration, a lot of commemoration, a lot of these things going on in Germany at that time, and probably other places too. But specifically Wittenberg, Germany, other areas are already beginning to plan events. 500-year anniversary for the Protestant Reformation when Martin Luther put the 95 Theses, October 31, 2017. So we're already starting to begin to plan how we're going to go, and we're going to do something there. If we can get enough people, we'd like to distribute more than a million tracts, but we're going to be probably relying upon Southern Union and other unions to join forces so that we can go over there as a group. You know that Pope Francis is going to be all over that. He's going to be all over that. And so we want to be there to counteract what he's doing, okay? So thank you for having me. It was a blessing, and God bless.
Praise God. Wasn't that rich? Amen. Oh, thank you so much, Elder. God bless you, and you all keep up the good work, putting this good news out around the world. That is beautiful. Folks, it's been good. It's time to eat, isn't it? Yeah, we got some